welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC 265, Gane versus Lewis. Last week, UFC, it was okay. We ended up going technically 3 and 5 of picks. We generally do six of the best picks that we're going to play, 2 dogs, 2 total round totals, and 2 locks of the night. Our boy Rafa hurt us just like he hurt everyone else. The Danny Chavez was a draw, so technically we went 3 and 5, which it wasn't the most profitable night. But we weren't negative. We were just kind of coasting. I barely won anything, but hey, if you're positive, you're positive. So we're going to try to right the ship and just make a lot more money this go around. We're going to fly through these, not allergies are whooping my ass. We're going to hurry up, fly through these, make sure we get you some good picks here, not really wasting a second of your time. Just a reminder, make sure you go over to Instagram, go over to Twitter, follow the Stats and Stacks podcast over there. That is where the official bets are being placed. In addition, there is a TikTok that actually started this week as well, where you can also see some picks. And finally, make sure you make some money this weekend. But again, like I said, we're going to get through these real quickly here and go ahead and find some winning picks. We'll start with the very, very first fight of the night, which honestly might be my lock of the night. One of them at least. Looking at Johnny Munoz Jr. at minus 250, going up against Jamie Simons at plus 190. We had the over 2.5 sitting at plus 100, the under 2.5 at minus 130. We'll start with Munoz. I know when the line originally opened, he was only like a minus 150 favorite, and everyone steamed him all the way up to, I think he's minus 265 at the current second, and for good reason. The kid's good. He's real good. He's a jiu-jitsu ace. You can just see the way he transitions from triangles to arm bars. He's very, very good on the ground. His wrestling is good. I know it's not going to show the greatest because he took that fight against Nate Maness on short notice. And he went like 2 of 16 on takedowns, but short notice, a good opponent, not his weight class. It was at featherweight. I think Nate Maness usually fights at bantamweight too, but still, there were a lot of factors going in there. So, and I thought he still won the fight. I could see the way for Nate Maness. It's not like it was a screw job by any means. It was a very, very close fight. So, it's not like, again, it's not as if it was a bad opponent. So, not a bad loss there. Other than that, his stand-up does leave a little to be desired. He can be backed up a little. However, it's there. It's a work in progress. That's not his go-to, but it's not as if he has nothing on the feet. It doesn't look like he has a ton of power. I know it shows he has some knockouts on his record, but at the same time, they were 7 and 11, and who's the other person he knocked out? Is not the greatest people to be knocking out. They were 2 and 2. So, it's there. Not a ton of power. He kind of just throws stuff out there. It kind of reminds me of like a Diaz brother where they just throw like head kicks out there, but they don't really have any intention of knocking you out with it. They just paw it out there just for fun. But no, overall, I like the kid a lot. I think he's going to be a star in all honesty. Kind of like I wouldn't say like Damian Maya-esque, but he kind of reminds me of him a little bit. And then we're going to go over to his opponent, Jamie, who not a lot of positives about him in all honesty. He kind of just got brought in just to, he's one of these COVID products. He came in to get KO'd by Giga Jakazi, which is exactly what he did. So at least he's a company man. He did his job. But he likes to pressure. His wrestling's okay. But other than that, every time he gets touched, he kind of backs up and looks scared and backs up against the cage. So neither one of them really like to get hit. No one does, but they really seem to feel really uncomfortable. And then he does have a tendency to put himself in submissions a lot. I noticed on the regional scene when he was going for takedowns and getting these takedowns, he was getting guillotined and had to fight out of them over and over and over again. You can't do that with a guy like Johnny with Munoz, who is just a wizard on the ground. So I really don't see this going long. I think that's why it's plus money for the over 2.5. So the pick is going to be Johnny. The bet, he could be the front runner for your parlay. He really could be the anchor. If you don't want to go that route and you want a little bit better odds, I am perfectly fine with taking the under. So you can either parlay Johnny, because minus 260 is a lot. You can either parlay Johnny or just take the under at minus 130. Both are really good options for you. Next fight of the night. Interesting one. We have Victoria Leonardo going up against Melissa Gatto. We have Leonardo. Well, right now we actually have it as a pick'em. Minus 115 for Leonardo, minus 115 for Gatto. Over 2.5 is minus 115. Under 2.5 is minus 115. So you really, really just have to pick a side here. We'll actually start with Gatto. You look at her, and the only reason this line is minus 115 is because her most recent win was against Carol Rosa. We all know Carol Rosa is very, very good. She's 3-0 currently in the UFC. Wins over like Laura Procopio and such. But at the same time, you also have to actually see these fights. This is why it's important to do fight tape, because a tape study is going to tell you a different story than what the record is telling you. The record's telling you she's undefeated. When you watch the tape, Carol Rosa was whooping her ass and then got caught in like a triangle. And then it was a good transition over to Kimura. Don't get me wrong, this girl is slick jiu-jitsu off her back. I said she's only like a purple belt, but she seems to excel a little more than a purple belt. She's good off her back. But at the same time, again, she has nothing to offer on the feet. She has that fight against Rochos as a draw, and I don't understand how. Really, she just got taken down and just ground and pounded for 3 straight rounds. I don't really know how that was considered a draw. In all honesty, I think these promotions just think she's marketable. You look at her and you go, oh, yeah, we could definitely get people to watch her fight. And that's the only reason she's 6-2. They're kind of handing out draws and they're handing her easy fights. I mean, she has absolutely nothing on the feet. I watched, she's kind of hard to get fight tape on. And I watched like 3 of her fights and I didn't see her on the feet at all. So I don't really know what she has to offer there. She also, her wrestling is just okay. It's not the greatest. She'll go out there. She doesn't seem too very physically strong. But at the same time, we haven't seen her in forever. I mean, her last fight against Carol Rosa was in 2018, so it's been 3 years. I know she had a litany of injuries. I know that she had a PED suspension. But at the same time, I think usually when those happen, especially with someone this young, they're just trying to take some stuff to recover because their body's not feeling well. So generally, you see these younger people, you don't see them for years, and then they come back and they're just studs. My problem is if she was getting all of these injuries and then the PEDs, if she's taking PEDs because of her injuries, her body's just kind of giving up on her. So I don't know how much training she's going to get and how much better she's actually getting. So she really does concern me. I don't know if she was a favorite originally. I do have a bet on this fight. I have a bet on Leonardo at plus 110. Again, now that's even money. And probably by the time of weigh-in, Leonardo's probably going to be the favorite, which is a scary thing because she's not the greatest either. Her wrestling is okay. Her stand-up's not the best. She just throws a lot of 1-2s. I mean, it's there. Not a ton of power on it. It's really not that good striking, but it's better than Gatto's. And she has pretty good cardio. And you got to look at her losses. In all honesty, you see her as 9-3, but she lost to Manon, and Manon is my dark horse in that division. I think she is going to end up fighting Valentina like next year for the title. Like Manon is very, very good. So she kind of got thrown to the wolves there. Her other loss was to Erin Blanchfield. People don't know about Erin yet, but they're going to know about Erin soon. Erin is very, very good. And then I think Erin's only loss was to Tracy Cortez, and that was a questionable like split decision. And then her other loss was to Miranda Maverick, who we all know is good. So, I mean, she has 3 credible losses, all 3 in the UFC. So, I mean, otherwise you look at her wins, she decisions or she grounds and pounds for a while. Like that seems like the type of person, as long as she can stay she's going to be better on the feet, as long as she can stay out of danger on the ground, which I think she should be able to do. I think she's a purple belt as well. She'll be perfectly fine. I loved her at dog money as a pick'em. I don't want any part of this fight. I'm scared of the over just because Gane throws up so many submissions. But at the under, the only way it's probably going to finish is if Gane gets the sub. So the pick is going to be Leonardo still. I loved it a lot more at plus money. I don't like it at even money. The pick is Victoria. The bet would be Victoria too, but I would probably just stay away from this fight. There's too many weird factors going on here. All right. Then the next fight of the night is one that is back after getting canceled due to COVID. We have Miles Johns at minus 220, taking on Anderson Dos Santos at plus 170. Over 2.5 is minus 195. Under 2.5 at plus 155. We'll start with Miles. Honestly, we broke this fight down before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Long story short, he's pretty much a generalist. He has pretty good wrestling. I think he wrestled like D3 or D2 or something. His striking is getting better. It looks better every single time he fights. His jiu-jitsu game is okay. I mean, he has some sub wins on his record, mainly on top. He's not going to sub anyone off his back, but he'll slip in a Darce choke or rear naked choke or something like that while he's on top, because he has a guillotine on here. So he knows what's going on down there. His cardio was his issue, but again, it looked better his last fight. He's just one of these guys. He's over a 4-7 MMA now. He switched camps, and you see him improving with a good camp over and over and over. So he only has one loss. So it was the Mario Batista. It was that crazy flying knee. I mean, he just got caught. This MMA is going to happen. But at the same time, I mean, the one that everyone sees and the reason he's minus 220 is that win over Adrian Yanez. We know how good Adrian Yanez is. So for him to go out and be able to get that job done, it's a very, very, very good win for him. But not going to spend too much time on him. I think he's very good. I think that he could be a top 15 top. The bantamweight is tough. I wouldn't say top 10, but bantamweight is stacked. So the top 15 guy, really, really talented guy. Dos Santos is a 36-year-old bantamweight, red flag number one. This jiu-jitsu is really good. He can catch Johns, especially if Johns, keeps going for some takedowns and leaves his head there. Dos Santos will find the neck. Problem is, his last win was over Martin Day. He's not good, and is now cut by the promotion. He lost to Andre Ewell. Andre's okay. That's not the greatest loss. Nad is, he's okay. It's not the greatest loss. But at the same time, Andre's a striker, and he won. Nad is a wrestler, and he won. Johns can do both, which is definitely why I lean the Johns route. Dos Santos has pretty good power. Don't get me wrong. He can catch Johns. It's not like Johns has never been caught before. However, Dos Santos can get caught himself. Johns doesn't have the greatest power, but Dos Santos is so damn hittable. I think he, on average, gets about on average he gets hit twice as much as he dishes out, and his cardio is suspect as well. So he's not going to have a cardio advantage. He won't have a striking advantage. He won't have a wrestling advantage. All he has is his submissions, but Johns gets to dictate where the fight goes, considering he has the better wrestling. So the pick is going to be Johns. The bet, I would either just kind of like the first fight, I'd either throw Johns in some parlays. Not too many. He's not as big of a lock as Munoz, but he's up there. And then you could also take him by decision. I don't think he's going to finish Dos Santos. So I think Johns by decision. You're going to have to look at a prop for Johns for a little better value. So pick Johns, bet Johns. All right. And then the next fight of the night might end up being the fight of the night. We have Manel Cop going up against Odie Osborne. We have Manel Cop at minus 215, Odie Osborne at plus 165. Over 2.5 is minus 190. Under 2.5 at plus 115. Let's just start with the controversy with Manel Cop. He's a guy I like a lot, in all honesty. I think he's very good. He's 0-2 in the UFC currently, but he should not be. His very, very first fight, I mean, he lost to Alexander Pantoja, who is a top 3 guy in the division. So there's that. You want to talk about a tough debut fight. I mean, there's not really much you can do there. He looks presentable. Didn't look good. He clearly lost, but you could tell he wasn't just a fish out of water. And then the second fight, I mean, he lost to Mateus Nicolau. Nicolau is not bad. Don't get me wrong. He's pretty good. But I really thought Cop won. I want to say I had money on Nicolau as a plus 100 dog, and I thought Cop won. So I mean, it is what it is. You're always going to have those questionable decisions. So I mean, in all honesty, if Cap loses this fight and he's 0-3, I really don't want to see the UFC cut him. He is a good fighter. He is giving them what they paid for. It's just he lost to a top three guy, and then he kind of got screwed by the judges. So not really much he can do there. He's really good striking. Only problem with him is it's very low volume. I really need him to throw more. If he threw just a little more, he wouldn't have had that Nicolau loss. He's pretty hittable. He dishes out probably the same amount that's coming back at him. So I mean, he's killer be killed, honestly. A lot of power for flyweight. That's not common to see. He's really durable. He doesn't get knocked out or anything often. Honestly, he got finished via submission twice. Yeah, never been knocked out. So if you can tap him out, I guess, but I don't think Odie's going to do that. And he can be backed up a little. His cardio is okay, but I really do have to watch him backing up. This might be why he's losing his fights. It's kind of hard. He can throw off his back foot, but that's not where he feels the most comfortable. And I think that's kind of where these decisions are kind of. Pantoja kind of pressured him. Nicolau tried to pressure him a little. So he really has to be careful, make sure he's going forward. When he's moving forward, he looks phenomenal, but he's going off his back foot. It's okay. And I'd rather him look phenomenal. But as much as I love Cap, I actually like Osborne as well. In all honesty, Odie is just a carbon copy of Cape. I really don't see a major difference in the two. They have really good striking. He's super fast. The thing is, this is his first fight at flyweight, so we have to watch the scales here, see how he looks, because he's a pretty big flyweight. He's going to have a pretty significant reach advantage, like 5 or 7 inches or something like that. His power is also very good. The kid's he's not bad. It's just his wins are a little questionable. He hasn't fought like top level competition. And even his UFC wins, I mean, he lost to Brian Kelleher, which isn't a shame, but he got guillotined. His neck got snatched up a little bit. He's this guy that, and then he beat Jerome Rivera, who might have been the worst UFC fighter in history. So, I mean, at that juncture, I mean, he spent his whole career at 145 and 135. He's just a guy that never cut weight. So I'm just very interested to see, is the weight cutting going to give him an advantage? Is it going to hurt him because he's going too low? He's never fought at 125 as an amateur, as a pro. I've never seen him at that weight. So I really don't know what to expect here. So I was going to lean Manel, and I think that's who's going to win the fight. The problem being, the line is off because these two are very, very similar. And if you're telling me it's not even, if the line was like minus 120 to even money or something like that, then I would definitely take Cape. But they have him as a minus 215 favorite. I mean, Odie Osborne, I've seen as high as plus 175. That's where I sniped it. I did place a bet on Odie. Because I mean, you have a reach advantage, you're just as fast, you're just as powerful. It's going to be a striking battle. The main thing is we are in Dallas. Dallas is notorious for bad judging. You never know what's going to happen. So if you have a coin flip fight and one of them is plus 170, you take the value. So, honestly, even though I want Cap to win, even though I think he should win, I think he has more tools to win. Odie has enough tools to get the job done. And at that value, the pick is Cap, but the bet has to be Odie. Then we're moving on to another really sketchy fight here. We have talent versus just a mental, the mental being. We have Karolina Kovacevic, minus 125 favorite over Jessica Penne. Come back on her at minus 105 currently. Over 2.5 is minus 435. Stay away. Under 2.5 plus 300, not going to happen. So, I mean, this fight really comes down to we'll start with Jessica. She won the Ultimate Fighter. She's not the greatest. She's very, very hittable. Again, she gets hit twice as much as she dishes out. Their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is what keeps her in fights and what gets her wins. Problem is she can't wrestle. So she's one of these girls where once it hits she just has to find a way for it to hit the mat. Even like her last fight against Loopy, she would literally be in a clinch and then just wrap her legs around her while standing to try to take them back. Like she was just trying to get creative using those long limbs because she can't wrestle. Her losses, sketchy. Danielle Taylor is not a good fighter whatsoever. That's not a good look. Jessica Andrade, former champ, she's good. Nothing you can do there. Joanna, former champ, she's good. Nothing you can do there. Problem being, all three of those fights were like in 2017, 2016, 2015. She doesn't fight a lot. And the problem is she had that big PED suspension for 3 years. So she's going through something. She's old now. She's like 38. Gosh. So you have a 38-year-old that can't strike, that can't wrestle, that only has jiu-jitsu. I think just the game has passed her by. Like, I know that her losses outside of Danielle Taylor are like credible losses to Michelle Waterson and some champs, but that's years ago. The game has evolved so much. I know Carolina's no spring chicken either. I want to say she's 35 or 36 now. Eesh. Yeah, she's 30. She's 35. So Carolina technically is the better fighter. Carolina is training with Joanna right now, which is a good training partner. It's just she's on a little bit of a run too. But she has the same thing. She lost to Andrade and Waterson, just like Panay did. And then she lost to Grassa, who's very, very good. She lost to Jan, who's pretty good, honestly. I know Carlo ran through her, but she's still not bad at all. So she's only losing the credible girls. The problem is she's posting videos, or she did post videos after that Jan fight that were a little concerning. I don't know if her mental headspace is all the way there. She has pretty good striking. She's a little hittable, but I mean, she can dish out a lot more than Panay can. Her takedown defense is pretty good. It looks weird. Like, I don't know. The numbers say it's decent. The tape say it's a little sketchy. Good news is she's fighting Jessica Panay, so it doesn't matter. Jessica can't take anyone down. And Carolina doesn't really have any power on anything. I mean, looking at her fights here, gosh, she won via armbar. She's not going to choke out anyone. She has one knockout. It was her very, very first fight. And she's never knocked out anyone since. So, and this thing's definitely going the distance. That's why it's at minus 432. Don't bet that. Don't touch that. But the thing is, Carolina, like, she retired and she came back. And I always say you don't bet retiring fighters, no matter what. If they mention retirement, you stay away. She's coming back from retirement, and that's a different story. I mean, we've seen Miesha Tate do it. Gosh, TJ came off of a super, super long layoff. We've seen Dom Cruz do it time and time again. This is a different scenario. I would say she's hungry again, but at the same time, that video she posted just scares the hell out of me. Panay, she's in it to win it. She's ready to prove a point. She's ready to prove that she should have never been suspended for 3 years, and her mental capacity is all the way in it. But she has no talent. Carolina has a lot of talent, but isn't mentally there. So this screams stay away. If I absolutely had to bet, the pick is going to be Carolina. The line's not off, so I would bet Carolina, but that is not something that I would recommend just because I don't know where her mental space is at. All right. And then next fight of the night here, we have Ed Herman at plus 190, short fuse, going up against Alonzo Menefield at minus 250. The over-under is set at 1.5. There's a reason. Ed Herman, the over 1.5 is minus 110. Under 1.5 is minus 120. So per James Lynch, a fabulous interviewer, per James Lynch, the reason Ed Herman had that fight canceled against Danilo Marquez is because he wanted to fight in front of a crowd. I don't know if the UFC liked him canceling bouts because he wanted to fight in front of a crowd. To me, personally, that sounds like he knows he's at the end of his rope. He's on a 3-fight win streak against 3 of the worst fighters in the UFC. Well, let's be honest. Cadiz is released, Patrick Cummings released, Mike Rodriguez. If he's not released, he's about to be. So he knows. Ed knows that he's at the end of his rope. He's 40 years old. To me, that sounds like that's going to be one of his last fights of his career, and he really, really wants it to be in front of a crowd. That's what it sounds like to me. Again, I fade retiring fighters, so this has red flag written all over it. And then at the same time, his last fight against Mike Rodriguez, it says Kimura win. He lost that fight. He faked a nut shot. It was really a knee to the body. The ref stopped the fight, said, oh, it was a low blow, never mind. And then Ed caught him in a submission. Like, I've never seen anything like it. So His striking it's there. It's just so slow because he's 40 years old. He just likes to brawl now. He's just a 40-year-old brawler. His jiu-jitsu, again, it's there. He's been in the game so long. He knows what he's doing on the ground, but his wrestling isn't what it used to be, especially because he's so old. When the older fighters get, the less they wrestle because they can't do it anymore. It just takes too much out of them. They don't have the cardio to do it. And he slows badly already. So if he tried to wrestle, he would go from slowing to gassing. So he just tries to grind, make it a slow, methodical fight, and then see if the judges give him the nod. Alonzo's the complete opposite. Alonzo is first round knockout or bust. I mean, when you look at just his career itself, I know the last two fights were, his last fight he had that submission over Fabio, who's not UFC caliber. And he was a late replacement. He took the fight on like 5 days notice. But I mean, nothing against Lonzo. He came out and he did what he had to do. Outside of that, the OSP loss was not a good look. He tried to slow it down. And he just looked uncomfortable, not coming out as fast as he could. Devin Clark took the punishment. The fight was about to be stopped, but Devin Clark survived and Alonzo gassed, and Devin just took advantage of him. Outside of that, the Paul Craig win looks amazing now when you really look at it in hindsight. And then outside of that, he hasn't fought a soul. He fought nobodies. So 4-4, 9-4, 5-2. Like these guys on the regional scene, even though their records don't look as bad as they are, these kids are not good. Never heard of them, never seen them. Alonzo is just a physical specimen. So they kind of just fed him some people and he looked good doing it. I think that the UFC is punishing Ed. I think they know that he didn't win his last fight. They gave Mike Slow Rodriguez his win bonus, even though he lost a fight, because they knew that he got screwed. They didn't like Ed canceling fights because he wanted to be in front of a crowd. So I think that they're feeding him Alonzo to get slaughtered, in all honesty. The problem is Alonzo was first rounder bust. If Ed somehow survives, he's a vet, he's witty. If he somehow survives, presses him up against the cage, Alonzo's toast in those later rounds. Alonzo is never someone that you should trust at minus 250, ever. But you can't trust 40-year-old retiring Ed. Gosh. So pick is going to be Alonzo. The bet, I would probably take Alonzo by KO just to soften the blow a little bit. It's not going to give you much more value. I haven't taken a look at it, but I know it's not going to give you much more value. You could also take round one. Probably gives you a little more value with Alonzo. But you have to take him by KO or you have to pick a round. Otherwise, do not parlay Alonzo Benefield. He is not to be trusted. He's a powerhouse. He can go out there and smoke Ed in 30 seconds, but don't trust Alonzo. That's all I can say. All right. And then here halfway through here. So just reminding you that we are starting a TikTok here this week. It's going to be just like our Twitter, just like our Instagram at Stats and Stacks Podcast. Make sure you follow for the picks, and make sure you give this video a like too. We appreciate all the love we can get. Next fight of the night, we are looking at Draco Rodriguez going up -1. Well, actually, the line has flipped. I have it -115 for Draco Rodriguez, -115 for Vince Morales. Over 2.5 is -150. Under 2.5 at +105. Right now, we will start with Draco overrated Rodriguez. I don't know why people like him so much. His striking's okay. His jiu-jitsu's okay. His chin is the issue. I know Zahabi's a decent striker. I know Draco's only technically been knocked out twice. Those are the only way he's losing. Tony Gravely's really, really good. So there's no issue in getting knocked out by Tony Gravely. I didn't see enough out of him. It looked like he had pretty good jiu-jitsu in all honesty. His striking was all right, but it didn't look like he had a ton of power. And it's not that he's just going out there and getting knocked out. I have seen him wobbled in fights that he won too. His chin concerns me. It's not a definitive bad chin, but it is questionable. And I don't really know what to do with him in all honesty. I haven't seen enough of Draco. He's young. He's 25. He's only going to get better. I think he might have came to the UFC a little too early. He could have, helped. It might have helped him stay on the regional scene another 2 years. I think he just needs a little more time. But at the same time, right now, he's fighting Vince Morales, who also isn't the greatest. He has a wrestling background. He's cousins with Ricky Simone. but he only strikes, and I absolutely hate that. In fact, he hasn't shot a takedown in his UFC career, which I absolutely despise wrestlers who just want to strike the whole time. I know Miles Johns is starting to do that, so I need to watch that fight real carefully to figure out what to do with Miles with his next fight. But Vince already does that, and I can't stand that. That's not your go-to discipline. That's why you keep losing these close fights, even if you want to mix it in and you don't want to wrestle the whole time. To me, that screams you have no cardio, because wrestling is what takes the most cardio in the whole, out of all the disciplines in MMA. And people just, they get tired and they don't want to do it, and they fall in love with just being able to knock you out on the feet. And I mean, he has some knockouts. I mean, he has uh gosh, he has 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh gosh, yeah, he has 5 knockouts on his win, and on his wins, and I think he's falling in love with his power. And that's a problem, because that's not your go-to. At least mix in the takedown, make it a threat to help out your striking. I don't like wrestlers coming in that just come in and box. And at the same time, you only have to touch Draco once, apparently. We don't really know, but it seems that way. The over-under set at 2.5 is probably what I'm looking at the most. The pick, gosh. Whew. This is a absolutely stay away from. I mean, you have 13 fights on this card. Even when you're doing parlays, most of the PRPs cut you off at 10. So if I can avoid this one, this is probably the biggest avoid of the night. The pick itself, I'll say Vince, because he's fighting for his job. He lost his last 2 fights, so he really, really needs a win here. So I will pick Vince. The bet, probably the under. In all honesty, I'd probably take the under, because I don't know about that chin. And Draco is pretty decent submissions. And you look at Vince's losses. He on the regional scene, or sorry, contender series, he got tapped out. Yeah, armbarred on the regional scene. He's been tapped out twice. So Draco's been knocked out twice. Vince has been tapped out twice. So I will say, and that might be a reason why he's not wrestling, because Vince is pretty high volume. So yeah, actually, the pick will be Vince, just because he throws a little more on the feet. The bet will be the under, in case his ground game is really that bad, and that's the reason he's not wrestling, and just in case Draco's chin is that bad, and that's why he keeps getting knocked out. So pick Vince, bet under. All right. And then that's going to take us to one of the most interesting fights of the night. We have Rafael Fiziev going up against Bobby Green. Rafael, gosh, the line opened at him at minus 150. Currently sitting at minus 335. Bobby Green, a plus 250 underdog. Gosh, over 2.5 at minus 155, under 2.5 at plus 125. We'll start with Fiziev. And when you look at him, you just think of one thing: great striking. This dude, like, you look at the Peter Yans and Mozar Evloevs of the world over at Tiger Muay Thai, and he's the striking coach. So, I mean, that's really saying something. It's not like he's, 40 years old. He's 28, and he's a striking coach. I know that with COVID and everything, Tiger Muay Thai is kind of paused. So we went over to Samford, and that's one of my favorite camps. So if you go to Fight Ready or you go to Samford, I'm all in. So, I mean, he went to a great camp. He has a lot of in and out movement. He doesn't just pressure you. He doesn't just back up off his back foot. He's a lot of in and outs. It's just smooth, man. He does slow a little bit as the fight goes on. That is his problem. He's super strong, good takedown defense, loves to rip shots to the body. I absolutely love that. And his wrestling, he's been taking some shots. Like, he'll wrestle a little if he wants to, just to kind of prove a point, I guess. The kid's good. I like the kid a lot. I think he'd be top 10 in the lightweight division. I really, really like Rafael Fiziev. The only thing I don't like is this line, man. I mean, Bobby Green's no joke. Bobby Green's a veteran of the game. Again, Rafael only has like 10 pro fights. Bobby Green has like 50. I mean, he's good everywhere. He's also a generalist. His wrestling's okay. His striking's okay. His jiu-jitsu, it's very, very tough to submit. He doesn't have a lot of offensive jiu-jitsu, but Fiziev isn't going to tap him out. The problem with Green is he fights with his hands down low. I don't like that against Fiziev at all. I do not like that. He never has his hands up. They're always down on his side. He pressures a lot, but that's fine with Fiziev. So his low fight IQ does concern me. He's the king of split decisions, and he's usually on the wrong end of them. His fights against let's see. We know the Thiago Moises one was a little suspect. The Jakar Close one was suspect. Trinaldo was a little suspect. He loves these decisions, man. And he just puts himself in situations where he's a clear winner, and then he does something stupid, and then all of a sudden, this dude loses the fight. And we're in Dallas, who is notorious for having bad judging. So, I mean, I want to just go. I was so excited to go and bet Fiziev, put him on all my parlays. Put that line. I can't do it. Minus 335. That is way too much. That's way too much. I did take a shot on Bobby Green just because it's Bobby Green at plus 250. That's just value I couldn't pass up. I honestly have no idea how he wins the fight. It would have to be by decision. It would have to be by Rafael slowing down. But I don't feel comfortable telling you to bet that. So then you kind of are looking at how, if you really want to bet Fiziev, you have to figure out how he does it. Bobby Green is durable. Last time he's been knocked out, gosh, it's been a while. 2016, DP knocked him out. Outside of that, last time he was knocked out, gosh, I don't know. I don't know if he has been. But it looks, the thing is, Dustin has a lot of power. He's not fighting. You look at his most recent fights, and you're saying Bobby Green's super durable. Moises isn't going to knock you out. Alan Patrick isn't going to knock you out. Venado, he has enough power. Clay Guida isn't going to knock you out. Trinaldo is 50-50. Jakar isn't going to knock you out. Eric Coach isn't going to knock you out. You're seeing a reoccurring theme here. And when he fights someone that can knock you out, he got blasted. And, Rafael can knock you out. Gosh. I don't know. Oh, God. I would say the pick is Rafael. The bet you have to, I guess you have to do dog or pass, because I don't know how Rafael wins. So it's dog or pass for value there, but most likely a pass. All right, let's get this ball rolling here. These allergies are whooping my ass. So next fight of the night, we have Song Yadong at minus 105 going up against Casey Kenny at minus 125. Over 2.5 is minus 235. Under 2.5 at plus 180. Yadong is good. Solid striking, a lot of power. Wrestling is a little suspect for someone that trains at Team Alpha Male. You think it would be a little better. And you can back him up after the first round. Yadong wins Yadong Song. Sorry, I said it backwards. He is someone that comes in really hot, wins the first round, and then slows down. The kid's going to be super good. He's only 23. I mean, he's been in the UFC for 4 years, so he started when he was 19. I did think he came in a little too early, but he's holding his own. He has some wins here. The Vince Morales, like we just talked about, is an okay win. Cody Stamen, it says a draw, but he lost. Marlon Vera says a win, but he lost. Kyler Phillips, he just straight up lost. And Kyler Phillips is training partners with Casey Kenny. So, I mean, Yadong is always in close fights just because he hits so hard and he always wins the first round. But he is someone that you can make backpedal and slow after the first. Just survive the first and then just kind of take care of business. Kenny doesn't have any power. He's the opposite. He has pretty good wrestling. Definitely the better wrestler of the two. He has really good striking. He's super fast. He's really, really fast. He's real calculated, like with his pressure. It's like he pressures in and then he backs off and then he comes back in. It's very tricky. His knock is just that he has no power. He's kind of a generalist as well. He's super good, don't get me wrong. Even his losses, I mean, it shows he has 3 losses. One to Cruz, which was super, super close, and Dom is the bantamweight GOAT, so no shame there, even old Dom. His other losses, gosh, let's see. Sorry, it's taking a second to load here. His other losses were, back in 2017, he lost a split decision. And then last year, he lost to Marab because it was Takedown City. There's no shame there. He's very, very high output. So in all honesty, to wrap things up here, the pick is going to be Casey Kenny. The bet at that value, what is he, minus 125? Yeah, I'll still bet Casey Kenny. He might be one of the lock of the night. Your dog's pretty good, so he's him and Johns are on the precipice of being locks of the night. Next fight of the night here, we have Teisha Torres at minus 150, Angela Hill at plus 120, over 2.5, minus 475, under 2.5, plus 325. These girls do not like each other. We will start with Teisha Torres, who actually has a win over Angela Hill currently. She has really good striking. She might be the fastest strawweight in the division. She lacks power. The last time she got a finish was her last fight against Sam Hughes, but Sam Hughes took that fight on short notice, and it was a doctor stoppage. It wasn't that she came in and just knocked her out. Other than that, I don't know if she ever has a knockout win. She has a submission, but she is a striker, and she does not knock anyone out. So it's a decision city. That's why it steams all the way up to minus 475. A lot of in and out movement. She just blitzes and then she backs up, and she's so fast, she's hard to hit. So she'll back up and she'll back up, and then she'll blitz in and hit you with like a 5-piece and then a whole 2-liter of soda, and then back up and you can't hit her, and then she'll splits back in. That's her game, and it works. And the biggest thing with her, I'll tell you right now, if Angela Hill wins, she's going to be a future champ. Because Teisha Torres is 12-5. You talk about credible losses. This woman has lost to Rose Namajunas, the current champ, 2-time champion in the strawweight division. Jessica Andrade, former champion. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, former champion. Weili Zhang, former champion. And Marina Rodriguez, who is 1 win away from a title fight. So apparently Marina Rodriguez is going to be champion because if you beat Teisha Torres, you become champ. That's how it works. So I will be running to bet Marina soon, I guess. So she has 5 losses against all 4 champions of the strawweight division, as well as a number 1 contender. So you want to talk about a tough schedule. This girl is, and they're close fights. I mean, she's not going out there and just getting starched. Like, she's in the fights. Teisha Torres is very, very good. Problem is, Angela Hill is very, very good and underrated as well. She has really good striking, really good cardio. She does like the pressure, so that's going to be interesting with the Torres blitz approach. Also, when you look at her losses, also very, very questionable and very, very credible at the same time. She has no power either, and she's the queen of split decisions that just always go against her. Ashley Yoder, not an impressive win. She lost to Michelle Watterson, who's very good. But that was a split that I thought she could have won. That was 50-50. Claudia Cordelia, she definitely won. I don't know how the split went to Claudia. Yunan John is very, very good. It's credible loss. Ronda Marcos, that looks a little suspect now. Got armbarred, just got caught. Courtney Casey, split decision, could have went either way. It's just Jessica Andrade. It's Rose and Teisha. She's losing to good girls, but she's getting better. Teisha has just always been good and just loses to the champs. Angela has some suspect losses, but you see her getting better and better. She is getting older. She's 36 right now, so it's do or die for her. Another loss, she's probably done. She's already in the part of the broadcast team. So the pick is going to be Torres. She's already done it, and she's very, very good and younger and faster. But Hill pressures, and Hill does not like this girl. This fight got canceled, and Hill wanted Teisha on a platter. She's on a revenge tour because she knows she's better. So at that point, if you're giving me plus money on a fight that I go 50-50, I will have to bet Hill here. So the pick is Torres. The bet is going to be Hill. Next fight of the night, Vicente Lucas minus 125, Michael Chiesa minus 105, over 2.5 is minus 140, under 2.5 at plus 110. We'll start with Vicente. Great striking, really very high volume, loves to pressure you. He's a little hittable, but Mike Chiesa has no stand-up, so that doesn't concern him at all. He has okay takedown defense. It's like 60%. It's questionable. He's very durable. You're not going to put away Vicente Luque. He gets in wars, and he always comes out on top. He's on a big win streak here. I know he lost to Stephen Thompson. He lost to Leon Edwards. He lost to Mike Graves, who's sneaky good, just not in the UFC for various reasons. So, I mean, since the Ultimate Fighter, he's really only lost to Leon Edwards and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So, top 3 in the division. He hasn't really beaten a ton of great fighters. I mean, Mike Perry and Nico Price, Randy Brown, they're all good, but they're not great. And they're also not wrestlers. And that's my problem, because that's all Michael Chiesa wants to do. Michael Chiesa has zero stand-up whatsoever. He wants to take you down, and he's not even going to just sub you. He is position over submission, and he does not care if he's getting booed. And those are the guys I love to bet on. When you watch it, you go, this is the most boring fight ever. And I absolutely love it. Stay safe. I don't care how exciting you are. I care if you win. And Michael Chiesa gives zero fucks if the crowd is booing or not. He will take you down and he will smother you. The term everyone uses is a wet blanket. You're not getting up. He knows he does not want to stand, so he's not going to even test it. Once he gets you down, he just does everything he can to make sure you stay on the ground. And you're not going to win a fight if you can't throw any punches off your back. Neil Magny, great fighter, wet blanketed him. Rafael Dos Anjos, former champ, wet blanketed him. Diego Sanchez and Carlos Condit, those are questionable. But he did sub Condit, which isn't easy to do. And he has not lost at welterweight. This dude is huge. I don't know how he ever made lightweight. I mean, he got tapped out by the GOAT, Anthony Pettis. Nothing you can do there because Anthony is the greatest fighter of all time. Hence the poster back there. Let's go, Showtime. Kevin Lee, phenomenal, great wrestler, great. He can do it all. Kevin Lee's very, very good. He tapped out with Neil Dariush. She was nasty on the ground. That's impressive. Lost to Joe Lozon back in 2014, and he lost to Jorge Masvidal back in 2013. So, I mean, all credible losses, but all at lightweight. Dude doesn't lose at welterweight because he takes you down, doesn't let you up. Great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, great wrestling. He does slow, but this is only a 3-round fight. Low volume, doesn't matter because he's on top. His chin, he does get dropped a few times too. He's not going to stand with you. Doesn't matter. He knows. He's already in the broadcast team as well. You know why he's on the broadcast team? Because he's smart, and he's a smart fighter, and I trust him. So the pick is Chiesa. I got him at plus money. I got him at plus 105. Loved it. Auto bet. Now, minus 105, I don't like it as much. I hope it goes back to plus money, but the pick is Chiesa. The bet is going to be Chiesa, even at minus 105. All right. Then it takes us to the co-main event of the evening. We have Jose Aldo at minus 130 going up against Pedro Munoz, which I actually have at minus 105, just like the Chiesa fight. Over 2.5 is minus 225. Under 2.5 at plus 175. We'll start with Aldo, former champ. Great striking, pretty good ground and pound. He's surprisingly hittable. I didn't realize how hittable he was. He takes as much as he gives out. He did abandon his leg kick game, so now he's just predominantly a boxer. You don't have to watch the weight cut. He's going to look like death no matter what at the scale, so it doesn't even matter. His wrestling, sneaky good. Jiu-jitsu, sneaky good. He's a champ for a reason. His cardio, questionable, but it's only 3 rounds, which is definitely going to be to his benefit. All he has to do is win 2. He's going to win the first round. Pedro's kind of a slow starter, and Aldo starts out quick. But Pedro's durable. So it's going to come down to, can Aldo win 2 rounds? Pedro, great striking. He's kind of hittable too, but his output's a little more. He averages like 5 significant strikes per minute. He has pretty good takedown defense. So I don't think Aldo's just going to take him down. He has good cardio. Aldo, he's probably going to lose the 3rd round. It's really going to come down to the 2nd round. Pedro has good jiu-jitsu as well. I don't think Aldo's going to tap him out. Pedro's better when he's moving forward. So is Aldo. And they both implement leg kick games to an extent. Pedro still does, Aldo does from time to time. So it really comes down to who's pressuring, and it comes down to who wins that 2nd round. So for me, I'm taking whoever the dog is, since it's a 50-50 fight. It was Pedro. Honestly, the line keeps moving to where it's a pick 'em. So it's really at your discretion. What I'm probably going to do is say that Pedro probably wins just because he has the better cardio. But I'm actually, because he's not a dog any longer, I'm actually just going to eat the chalk at the over. I don't see this fight finishing. So the pick is Pedro. The bet would actually be the over 2.5. And then we don't have to spend a lot of time on the main event. It sounds weird, but Derrick Lewis and Ciryl Gane. Again, Derrick Lewis plus 290 favorite, plus 290 underdog, Ciryl Gane minus 390 favorite. Over 4.5 is plus 147, under 4.5 at minus 182. Derrick Lewis, terrible wrestling, terrible jiu-jitsu. Striking is not technical at all. He just brawls, but he has probably the second most power in the UFC. Francis Ngannou probably has the most power, and then Lewis right after. Lewis has the most knockouts in UFC history. This dude is a definition of a puncher's chance. That's every single fight. So there's not even really any reason to break him down. All it takes is one punch. And he does have power in later rounds. I've seen him knock people out in like the third or fourth round. So it does carry over, but he's low volume. He just looks for that kill shot for 25 minutes, and he had 25 minutes to take you out. Ciryl Gane, great striking. Okay jiu-jitsu, honestly sneaky good. His wrestling is decent. His cardio checked out against Volkov last round and Rosenstruck. Both of those went all 5 rounds. The dude's good. He's the only thing he lacks is experience, and that scares me, being in there with Derrick Lewis for 25 minutes. The pick, without a doubt, unquestionably, is Gane. The bet, if it keeps going up for Lewis, it's okay to take a shot. He does have a puncher's chance. If you're up in the night, it's the main event. This is the perfect hedge spot. If you are up, or if you're up already on the night, you can take a shot on Lewis because it can happen. And I have a weird gut feeling that it might happen. When you have or if you have a parlay going and Gane is in it, it's a perfect hedge spot for Lewis at almost plus 300. So I would actually recommend making a lot of parlays with Gane in it, just to boost a little value in there. Even though you're not getting much of minus like 400. Oh God! You know what you can do? I like the under. I like the under too. Minus 180. The pick is going to be Gane. The bet, there's just no value on Ciryl, so I would just bet Lewis if you're already up on the night, just to try to increase that bankroll. Otherwise, that's UFC 265. Again, I gotta reiterate, give this video a like. Go ahead and go follow us to see the official. We do not bet until after weigh-ins unless it's a dog that I think I can get value on. And again, I sniped like Leonardo. I sniped Chiesa before they ended up being pick'em fights. Pedro Munoz I got in. So like dogs, I will bet right away. But other fights, I wait until weigh-ins to place the official bets. I need to see what these people look like. And it's COVID, so fights are getting canceled left and right. So make sure you follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, and then the newly TikTok later on in the week at Stats and Stacks. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure, and we're just looking forward to making some more money. Let's get it.